Hi all, it's Nick from Awell. In this video, I would like to show you how you can use Awell to bring your appointment flows with Elation to the next level. For many care providers, appointments are an important point of contact in the patient's care journey to assess, inform, or just deliver care to patients. Preparing these visits is pretty much a prerequisite to make sure the patient and the provider can get the most value out of the appointment, but it also allows you to be more efficient and save time. That's why I've set up a very simple pre-visit care flow here to demonstrate you how you can leverage Awell's platform to automate pretty much all of the steps needed leading up to the appointment with the patient. So let's head over to Elation here and let's book an appointment for today for our test patient called Ada Lovelace. Now, what's happening here in the backend is that Elation is sending a webhook over to Awell because we've subscribed to the appointment created event. And what Awell will do is Awell will start a pre-visit care flow based on that webhook. One of the steps in that pre-visit care flow is that the patient will receive a text message to acknowledge the appointment. So we'll have to see that coming in here quite soon. So here it is. So here's the text message that acknowledges the appointment with our clinic on the 9th of October, which is indeed correct. And you actually also see there is immediately a second text message that's actually scheduled the day before the appointment. Now, given the, we chosen the date of the appointment being today, that message is actually already being sent. And this text message actually asks the patient to fill in a questionnaire to prepare for the visit. So let's quickly hit that link and let's see what we'll have to prepare for our visit. So when clicking that link, the patient is brought to Awell hosted pages. And in my care flow, I actually programmed or designed that I want the patient to fill in the PHQ-9 before coming over for the visit. So let's just fill in that PHQ-9 questionnaire. And that seems to be it. So there's nothing more for me to do in order to prepare my visit, which is great. So that visit is happening tomorrow. And then what probably the physician or the provider will do is they will look at Elation when the patient is coming over. So let's have a look there. And what we can actually see here is that there is an unsigned office visit note in progress and also an unsigned non-visit note in progress. So this is related to the visit because that's related to the appointment that we have scheduled. But more importantly here is there is an automated unsigned non-visit note created by Awell that actually summarizes all of the data was collected through the form that the patient had to fill in. So you'll see here that the patient was asked to complete the PHQ-9 assessment on the 9th of October or for the visit, to prepare for the visit on the 9th of October. And we can actually see all of the answers here that the patient has put in on that form. But I think more importantly here is that we can see the total score of the PHQ-9, but also that the patient has, according to the questionnaire at least, has symptoms of severe depression. Now, this is obviously super useful information for me to have as a care provider upfront of having the visit, because I also don't need to ask these questions anymore during the visit. So just to show you how you can leverage and use Awell to plug into Elation, and in this case, react on an appointment being created in Elation and trigger in like really a custom designed care flow or workflow based on that visit. Now let's dive into the specifics a bit more and see how this care flow was actually built. So I'm here in Awell Studio, and actually one of the first things I would advise you to do is set up that connection between Elation and Awell. In this case, we want a webhook event sent by Elation to trigger a care flow, in this case, our appointment flow in Awell. So let's learn how to do that. So what you'll have to do is here you go to settings, to extensions, and there is the Elation extension, which is already configured. But then there is here a tab, and you'll see that there is a custom URL or endpoint generated by Awell just to listen to that patient created or updated webhook. So that's the URL you will need to set up the webhooks in Elation. Now we've created a totally separate video, which I'll link here in the description as well, that shows you how you can create or set up your subscriptions in Elation, because Elation doesn't have a GUI to do that, so that all has to be done through the API. So we'll make sure to link that video in the description below. Now, when this webhook is set up and it's configured in Elation as well, what you'll have is that when an appointment is scheduled in Elation or created in Elation, that this care flow will be started. Now let's dive into the Careflow design itself. And you'll see here that I have created two tracks, a pre-visit track and a post-visit track. Now let's just look at the pre-visit track here today. But you'll see that one of the first things I'm doing here is I'm retrieving the appointment details. So why is this relevant? Because in the webhook that Elation sends us, what you'll get is a notification that an appointment was created and just the ID of the appointment. We're not receiving the date or the title of the appointment. So that's all details actually that we'll have to retrieve from Elation's API. So we're retrieving the appointment details and we're storing things like the appointment date, the patient ID, so the patient the appointment is for. We'll make sure to store that in data points in our Careflow so we can use that later on as well. So what I'm doing here in the second step is, again, a bit the same, making sure I have all of the context. I'm retrieving all of the patient details. In this case, I'm very much interested in having the patient's email, the mobile phone, and the patient's first name. And I'll also make sure to retrieve the physician, so who the patient has an appointment with. So these two steps are pretty much making sure we have all the context about the appointment, about the patient, about who the appointment is with. And here is actually where the magic happens. So in this case, I actually only want to trigger something for follow-up appointments. So as you might know, in Elation, you have appointment types, and there are a couple of them, but I only want this Careflow to do something when actually a follow-up appointment is being scheduled. So what I'll make sure to do here is that I configure a conditional path here that only gets activated when the appointment type is of type follow-up. And then we'll make sure to send an SMS. So this SMS is actually, acknowledging to the patient that the appointment has been scheduled, and this happens pretty much immediately as soon as the appointment is booked. And then you'll see there is here a second step, which actually prepares the visit, which is set to be activated one day before the actual appointment date. So one day before the date of the appointment, we'll execute this step, which again sends an SMS to the patient, but also asks the patient to fill in a PHQ-9, calculates the PHQ-9 score based on the data filled in by the patient, and it creates a non-visit note with all of that information included. So this is what we've seen in the demo as well, where the end result is having that non-visit note with a summary of the PHQ-9 submitted. So this was our very compact, let's say, pre-visit Careflow. But what makes this really so powerful is the ability that plugging it into Elation, that's very easy, and the ability to mix and match this with different extensions. So not only the Elation extension, but also Twilio to send text messages to patients, or maybe Mailgun if you want to send an email to the patient, or even to the physician to let them know that an upcoming visit is coming with the patient. That really makes this Careflow super powerful. So I think that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.